New York Magazine, to its credit, because you're not expecting this story to come from New York Magazine, reporting now that Black Lives Matter secretly purchased a $6 million house. And not only was it $6 million, but it was spectacular. So they got a lot for their money. Apparently it's in Southern California, 6,500 square feet, more than half a dozen bedrooms and bathrooms, several fireplaces, a soundstage, a pool, a bungalow, parking for more than 20 cars, and so on and so forth. They paid for it in cash in October 2020 as the donations were pouring in post George Floyd. They report that the transaction has not been previously reported. BLM's leadership had hoped to keep the house's existence a secret. Well, then they shouldn't have filmed their little promo videos for YouTube sitting in front of it, because somebody noticed. Look at that's the BLM 3 leaders sitting in front of their beautiful home: Patrisse Cullors, Alicia Garza, and Melina Abdullah. In that video, which we're showing a picture of for the YouTube watchers, Patrisse Cullors, who was under fire for having $3 million worth of homes, again, linked to her charitable work as the head of BLM, she was lamenting the right-wing media attacks, saying, I've just been in survival mode, as she sat before a $6 million home that the donations had purchased. The New York Magazine points out to the benefit of Black Lives Matter leaders personally. A little bit of extra flair here. New York Magazine reached out to BLM on March 30th asking about the house, which is known internally as, quote, campus. And the writer, Sean Campbell, writes, quote, afterward, leaders circulated an internal strategy memo with possible responses, ranging from, can we kill the story, to our angle needs to be to deflate ownership of the property. The memo also describes the property as a safe house. It's a safe house for leaders whose safety has been threatened. Then he writes that the notion that the house is simultaneously a confidential refuge and a place for broadcasting to the widest possible audience with their YouTube videos might be somewhat in tension. So what are we to make of BLM now, with the benefit of hindsight and the new number of investigations into this group, state after state after state, for them misusing funds and not filing the proper reporting and failing to disclose what they're doing with people's dollars?
Has always been a con grafted on the larger con of the mainstream news media. I mean, they call themselves Black Lives Matter because the left is so good coming up with these titles, like so good with language, making the good sound evil, making the evil sound good. They're just great at it. So Black Lives Matter, I got to give them applause for that. If you went on their website early on before they got caught and changed it, it was not just a Marxist website, it was a Maoist website. It was dedicated to the destruction of the family, dedicated to the destruction of the culture, dedicated to the destruction of most of the things that people in this country hold dear, but they called them Black Lives Matter. I wanted to start my own organization called Kittens Are Nice and have you send money to me, because if the mainstream media would fall for that, I thought they would fall for anything. Again, they skip over, the left always manages to skip over first principles. Is there such a thing as a black life? I mean, is that really something that Americans accept as a reality to begin with? When I moved recently and I was looking for a new church, the first thing I excluded was any church that had a banner on it saying Black Lives Matter, because I thought, in Christ, there is no black and white. In Christ, we're all one, part of this one body. So if you believe Black Lives Matter, you don't believe in Christianity. And I think that this is it has always been a con. And the problem we're facing, and this is a genuine bigger problem, is we're in an information crisis. The left is right about this when they talk about misinformation. The problem is they're the ones who generate it. But when we have a news media, I started out in newspapers. I started out working in newspapers with guys who were left-wing and right-wing. Half the time you didn't know where they stood. And if you strayed, and I was a liberal then, and I would stray to the left, if somebody would take you outside to say, hey, that is not the way we do this here. We report the facts and just the facts. The media has become corrupt. Our news media is vividly corrupt and deeply corrupt. And so when you come along and you say Black Lives Matter and you participate in riots with the open intention of destroying our society, and you have clowns on the media saying, oh, well, these riots were mostly peaceful. It's like you have a serious problem. I'm not sure the problem is these particular con men and women. They are con men, they are con women. But really, I think the larger problem is a media that has lost touch with its actual job, its job of reporting the news, not objectively, just fairly. All they have to do is give both sides and tell both sides. And when you see violence, you call it violence. This is a violent Maoist organization. And the fact that it uses your money to buy themselves a $6 million house doesn't surprise me even a little bit.
Yeah, same. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.